Well, we've got two great college football games on tap tonight. Well, there's three games in all, but do you really care about UL Lafayette and Troy State? But the thing that amazes me, I understand that nobody could foresee that Baylor and Oklahoma would have such national title implications, but Stanford, Oregon, I mean, you knew this was going to be a good game. You knew with the results of the last 2 years, with 2 years ago in Palo Alto, Oregon pulling the upset, basically dashing Stanford's hopes for a BCS title shot. And then last year, Stanford going to Eugene and returning the favor. You knew this was going to be a big game. Why isn't it being played on Saturday night? I mean, seriously, on Thursday night, granted, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. I mean, this is a hell of a lot better than, the typical Thursday night games. Western Kentucky against Troy State. Last Wednesday's game, Cincinnati and Memphis. Oh, boy, that was a thriller. But still, you got to wonder, what's it being played on Thursday night? And of course, the people in the NFL have to be going, hey, we've got a game too on the network that not everybody in America has, but is anybody going to be tuning in to the Redskins Vikings tonight other than me? Because I think that's the best bet on the board. Hi, guys. Al DeMarco here. And this, of course, is going to be your Thursday video report. Let's run down quickly who's hot and who's not, as I always try to give you both sides of the equation here. And I'll tell you what, there's a couple of guys that have big, big plays tonight in this college football action. Jeff Benton tonight, not only going for winning day number 6 out of 8, but a play that matches his biggest college football release of the season. 100 dime max wager winner number 3 out of 4 is Pac-12 game of the year, Oregon and Stanford. His last 100 dime winner, that was the Saints over Buffalo 2 Sundays ago. Remember in college basketball last year, just a phenomenal run where he closed the season hitting 12 out of 14 100-dime college basketball releases, including that little championship game in April when Louisville stopped Michigan. Well, guys, this play is just as big as all those. And, of course, it's twice as big as his 50-dime Super Bowl winner on the Ravens. So Jeff Benton has that going tonight. But I also want to tell you that Brett Atkins has his biggest college play of the season as well. 100-dime play on the same game. And FYI, guys, it's 2.5 times stronger than his 40-dime winner last night on the Milwaukee Bucks over Cleveland. But more importantly, what I wanted to pass on to you, I looked up before I started this video report, those guys are on opposite sides. So, no need to get them both. And if you get one, you know who the other is on. Once again, Benton on one side, Atkins on the other side, so I wanted to pass that over to you. His only other 100-dimer was his NFL total of the year, Redskins and Broncos going over back on October 27th, and I think that was a play that you got as the $5 play of the day that particular day. So that kind of gives you an idea of what he's got going tonight. Now, as I said, as far as I'm concerned, though, tonight, and I'm going to talk about both of these games, I think the best bet is still in the NFL, where I've got a 15-dime play, which may not sound like a 100-dime play. It's not as big as a 100-dime play, but it's all relative. Because on my rating scale, when 99% of my plays are rated between 5 and 15 dimes, this is right there near the top. It doesn't get much bigger than this one. And I'm 8-2-1, or 9-1-1 personally, but I took it as 8-2-1 with those 15-dime releases so far this season in the NFL. And that's what I've got going tonight, is I think, again, the Redskins-Vikings side is the best game on the board. FYI, if you'd like to save $23 off a single purchase here today of anybody's pick or package, it's a one-time usage coupon, and that coupon code is November23. November23, no space between the word November and the number 23, okay? $5 play of the day today is going to be Matt Rivers, 500,000 star NFL total of the month. The Vikings Redskins over under, just as strong as his 500,000 star max wager college total of the year winner when he gave you Boise State and Colorado State going over the total by 12 points on Saturday. Now, you may recall, and I just want to clarify this as he did on his website, he had this play on Sunday, 500,000 star NFL total of the month. He personally won it. I think probably 99% of you out there won it as well. The Saints-Jets under. But as you know, some of you may have gotten that at 46. It was a 26-20 final. Instead of taking advantage of the 46.5 number, which went up early on Sunday morning, I made him take it as a push. He took it as a push anyway, even before I ordered him to do so. So he's re-released it again tonight. So I just wanted to be clear with that. Save $75 off the regular price. Meanwhile, how about Chris Jordan? 200-star winner, MAC total of the year on Tuesday night with Ohio and Buffalo under by a gazillion points. Then last night, he had to play twice as strong as 400-star MAC total of the year. Ball State and Central Michigan going over the number, which you got as the $5 play of the day. And today he has a play, again, just as strong. His Big 12 total of the year on Baylor and Oklahoma. You save $60 simply by using coupon code CHRIS60. CHRIS60 is the play for that one. How about that Ball State game, though, last night? I mean, you're cruising along. You think you got that game in hand, and then Central Michigan scores twice. 2 touchdowns, outscores Ball State in Muncie 14-3 in the fourth quarter, scoring their final touchdown with about 90 seconds or so to go in that game. Ball State laying 21, naturally wins by 20. Everybody gets backdoored. A number of handicappers did here, certainly, with that play last night. The other tough play last night was the Indiana-Chicago game. Anthony Redd, who hasn't lost much here lately, was going for 75-time NBA winner number 5 in a row. He was on the the Bulls last night. I warned you about that game on the video report, though, yesterday. I mean, seriously, the Bulls are going to be a good team this year. We know that. But you got to wait till Derrick Rose has some semblance of being the Derrick Rose he was pre-knee injury. I mean, his outside shot isn't falling. It's clear that this team is struggling offensively, and the Pacers are just getting the job done with the defense that they're playing. Brian Rosica also went down in flames with the with the Bulls last night. Okay, let's talk about these two games. And I note with interest how the public has jumped on both of these favorites here today. Baylor was 15 earlier today. How about 16.5 now? That's what happens when you're scoring 472 points per game, especially at home this season. Hey, listen, the Sooners are 21-1 straight up in this series. The only loss, remember a couple of years ago, there was this guy, Robert Griffin III, who threw a touchdown pass in the last second for a 45-38 win. The last time these two met in Waco. This, of course, the second to last game at got to think of the Floyd Reese Stadium, I think it's called, in Waco, because they're building a brand new facility across the street and across the river, in fact, from Baylor's campus in Waco. Baylor, by the way, one of the nicest campuses in the country. Seriously. The town of Waco, not a hell of a lot to do, but Baylor, one of the nicest campuses I've ever visited. I like, whenever I travel cross country, I like stopping at different colleges. It's like when you go up to Dallas, SMU, you go... you cross the freeway, you make the entrance to the George Bush Parkway, you come into SMU and you go, my God, this place is beautiful. It's hard to believe that, like, right over there is the whole city of Dallas. You don't even realize it's there. 2 very nice looking campuses. Anyway, I digress. Baylor here, listen, they won that game a couple of years ago. The thing with Oklahoma is you just don't know which team you're going to get. The team that was so impressive in South Bend in revenge, beating the hell out of Notre Dame, or the team that just got bushwhacked by Texas at the Cotton Bowl in the Red River rivalry a couple of weeks back. I mean, in that game, Texas won 36-20, and it wasn't even as close as that final score indicated. Sure, they have bounced back by beating Kansas. Who doesn't beat Kansas? You, me, and 9 other guys could beat Kansas. They handed Texas Tech its first loss, 38-30, but listen, that was a game that was nip and tuck in the fourth quarter as well. What I liked about Baylor, there was no look ahead in this game. They went to Lawrence, Kansas last Saturday, and 2 Saturdays ago, I should say, and they absolutely destroyed the Jayhawks 59-14 in this one. Listen, you have an offense that's averaging 718 yards a game. You have an offense that's averaging 63.4 points a game. Those totals by far number 1 in the nation. You've got a quarterback working in a system that makes him successful. Bryce Petty, who's completing almost 70% of his passes for over 2,400 yards and 18 touchdowns versus 1 interception. And remember, a lot of those games at home where Baylor's averaging, like 70 points a game, he's not even playing in the fourth quarter. The key, obviously, for Oklahoma tonight is whether or not Blake Bell, their quarterback, can get the job done, and whether or not the Sooners are going to be able to run the ball. Now, Bell in the Texas game was miserable, 12 for 26, 133 yards and 2 interceptions. In the Notre Dame game, he was exceptionally strong. Baylor comes in here having won 11 in a row overall, covering 10 of those last 11, with the last loss coming at Oklahoma last year. Meanwhile, they've also won and covered 8 straight playing in Waco. That lost last year, 42-34 in Norman. Guys, I think it's going to be a barn burner of a game. I don't really know which way to tell you to go here. I mean, obviously you, the gambling public, you're all over the Bears. You've bet it up to 16.5. And I can see an argument being made for each side, but I think perhaps a better argument would be looking at that total of 73 points. Yes, I know that's what Baylor is averaging pretty much at home on themselves this year. Baylor's not going to score 73. I think Baylor can score 40 in the 40s, and the Bears' defense isn't that good. So I think Oklahoma can certainly get their share of points as well. So I lean a little more toward the over in that game at 73 than backing either one of the sides. Now, in the other game, Oregon and Stanford. Oregon, early this morning, you get the Ducks at 10, maybe 10 and a half at most places. Forget it. You're now laying 11 and a half points. We know what the situation is there, and I alluded to it earlier in this video report. It's a revenge game for Oregon. Stanford stopped them last year by using their big, superior defensive line to really contain the Oregon Ducks' attack. But that Stanford defensive line isn't as strong this year as it was last year. And offensively, the Cardinal aren't as good either. The offensive line hasn't been creating as much running room for the Cardinal running backs. The quarterback, Kevin Hogan, is not playing nearly as well as he did a year ago, but that's also because he doesn't have as many talented wide receivers, especially losing his tight end, who I can't remember his last name, Ertz, was it, who was a second draft pick of the Philadelphia Eagles. Oregon comes in here with this unstoppable offense. But let's face it, Oregon didn't look so unstoppable when they were tied at 14 against UCLA at home 2 Saturdays ago, before then going crazy to win that game 42-14. And they certainly didn't look that impressive defensively when when UCLA ran for 219 yards against them in Eugene in their last game either. But I go back to the Stanford-Utah game. Now, that is the only blemish on Stanford's record. Remember what Utah did in that? Their quarterback, big guy, not a great passer, but a big guy, Travis Wilson. 23 for 34, 234 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Ran 8 times for 35 yards. You know what Oregon's quarterback can do here, right? But what Utah did was they spread the field. Okay, a lot of bubble screens, a lot of overshifting to one side of the field, flooding it with 3 receivers, They stretched out the Stanford defense, and Stanford couldn't deal with it defensively. They didn't have the speed. They didn't have the athleticism, okay? And the coverage just wasn't there. And Utah was able to take advantage of it. And, you see a final score that was 27-21, but remember, the Utes were up by 13 points most of the second half in that contest. Is Oregon going to score their 55.6 points a game or gain their 632 yards per game average, which has them at number 2, ironically, behind Baylor in both of those statistical categories this season? No. But listen, I think this is a great spot to take Oregon. I think this is one of those games, just like Florida State, Miami of Florida a couple weeks ago, that you look at the favorite and you just have to go in with a blindfold and say, forget all the numbers, forget everything else. The only thing matters is revenge. Oregon looks unstoppable, and please, God, let the Ducks win out. Let Baylor win out. Let us have a national championship game that isn't boring with LSU and Alabama playing as usual. Please let us have an offensive-minded national championship game instead of a 14-7 snooze fest. So I'm going to go with Oregon. That's going to be my free pick here tonight. By the way, Utah also ran for 181 yards against that Stanford defense, okay? Last year, Stanford stopped Oregon defensively. Really held them in check. Their defensive line dominated the offensive line of the Ducks. The offensive line of the Ducks, however, this year, more veteran, more experienced, better. Stanford's not as strong. We know about the bevy of talented backs that Oregon has, so that's another reason I like the Ducks here as your free selection. Okay, that'll do it, guys. Best of luck to you all, and I will catch you again on Friday.